Hello, I'm Jo Ferrie. I'm Deputy Director for Training for the Scottish Graduate School. And in the other half of my role, I'm based at the University of Glasgow. I'm a sociologist there. So I'm going to talk to you about training. This information is for anybody associated with the Scottish Graduate School. I know a lot of the people who will look at this first. Will be deans of the graduate schools in our universities, HEI admin leads, but if we could share this with supervisors, potential supervisors, colleagues that are just interested in joining in doctoral education, and of course students, that would be awesome. So really what I'm covering here is a guide to what we're trying to deliver with the training and how you can inform the training program that's created and to make sure that you're part of the communication pathway to students about what's available. We have 11 elements to our training program. There are 8 displayed here, and I'm going to talk about the others as I go through just this couple of slides. Together, we provide well over 800 hours of training annually. And if a student did everything we offered, and we put everything we offered back to back, they'd be in training for almost 4 months of the year if they took their weekends off, which we know, of course, is really vital for well-being and recharging our batteries. The training program broadly is open to ESRC and non-ESRC students. So that means that students are eligible for our training if they identify as a social scientist, if they're studying at a Scottish university, and if they're studying for either a doctorate or a PhD. So we reckon that's well over 4,000 students in Scotland who are eligible for this programme. The training that we put on is informed by our training needs analysis. This is mandatory for ESRC funded students. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit on the final slide. But or I'm not actually, that's in another bit of the presentation. But so let me say here, it's mandatory for ESRC students. Then we email them between May and now. Every year there's repeated emails. We've just sent out reminders to those that haven't returned yet, CCing in supervisors. If we still haven't heard from students, we'll escalate and involve deans, because we need to be able to report to the ESRC that we have 100% of these training needs completed. Now, the training needs analysis is a really straightforward instrument. It's designed to fit on top of the annual progress review they do at each of those universities. And I've spent time visiting you all and finding out what you do in your different schools, in your different disciplines around annual progress review. So I know that I'm repeating some of the information, but only the bits that we really need to know about. We have on the form around 25 qualitative and around 25 quantitative advanced training courses that we know are popular with students. And we ask students to tell us only if they need training in those areas and if it's introductory or advanced. There's also a box where they can give us some novel ideas for training. They can be methodological, but they can also be around career planning, employability, well-being, publishing, some of those things around project management or project dissemination activities that aren't necessarily covered within methods, but we're interested in producing a really thorough and useful program. In that box, students can also let us know if they're part-time or if they have caring responsibilities. They can nominate the day of the week that's going to work better for them. They can nominate a local area where, if we're doing face-to-face training, that it would be really suitable for them to host a particular kind of training there. So, for example, a student with caring responsibilities who's doing part-time study, who can only really guarantee availability on Monday afternoons. If the training's in Aberdeen, if you tell us, we'll do our best to provide the training available. We'll do our best, okay? So the form, if it's an ESRC student and they don't have any training needs, they can just submit the form and it's pretty blank and that's fine. But we do need it returned. For non-ESRC students, please let us know what the training needs are, and please know that we welcome that kind of detailed, bespoke information that allows us to put on a useful training programme. As I said, the training needs informs our training program, and this is a mix of academic and personal development events. Some of it, and I'm going to speak through this a little bit, is just for ESRC students, and that's because it is funded directly from the ESRC for ESRC students. So we're not taking from a central pot to provide this provision. One example of this is our student induction, which happens every November. So if you have new students starting this year who are ESRC funded, they will be getting invited. It's going to be a digital event again this year. It's going to go over two days, and it's also going to intersect with a really great futures event that our leaving Associate Director Lydia Plowman has led on. So that's the induction in November. We have advanced training that goes throughout the year. These are half-day events. When we're face-to-face, we try and spread them geographically around Scotland. Currently, they're still happening digitally. If you've got an idea for an advanced training program event, especially one that you would like to deliver for us, please get in touch, because I would love to grow my networks. I would love people who are enthusiastic. If you've got existing teaching materials that you can reuse, this is brilliant. Now, when we say advanced, I mean one of two things. Either it's an advanced method compared to a core foundational dealing of that they might get in their master's year, or it's advanced in terms of the student. They've advanced in their studies sufficiently that this training is now relevant. So that could be things that they really need in second and third year. Things like writing your methodology section. There's a wee choir going on behind me. Please appreciate that, and also forgive me for it. We have things like preparing for your Viva that could come a bit later on, using particular kinds of software, maybe thinking again about impact. These things might be for an advanced student rather than being advanced in and of themselves. Okay, so that's what we mean by advanced training. Again, really delighted to hear about anybody who would like to contribute to that programme. And equally the summer school, which is also sort of set up as half-day events. We've got working with business, our business booster training, which happens in the spring, where we work directly with industry partners to help students prepare their approach to working with businesses. So whether that's them going into an employee position or staying in academia, but developing a research profile that can attract industrial partners. How do they take the skills they already have and market those to for-profit organisations? And a lot of the time it's just about language. It's just about changing from having a proposal ready to having a pitch ready. But we'll tease through that in this brilliant event, this Spring into Methods, which is one of two events that are committed to interdisciplinary working specifically. Here we're thinking about all of the subjects, and this is run in primary in partnership with the Scottish Graduate School of Arts and Humanities, but we've also been increasingly working with Social CDT, which specialises in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and with computing science colleagues, and we're trying to build bridges with other colleagues in other disciplines outside the social sciences. These are longer events. These last 2.5 days. So real intense learning opportunity and learning alongside students from those other fields of study. So you get to think not just about the method that's being taught, but its ontological origins and how these may be interpreted differently in different parts of our academy. The Hub Festivals are the second interdisciplinary event, and these look at within the social sciences, at grand challenges, it's problem solving, and it's again bringing your disciplinary assumptions into the room and exploring what you can learn by working with other people from the social sciences who come from a different standpoint. The impact competition, you will have heard about this on somebody else's slides, but we include it here because it is set up as a learning environment as much as it's set up as a showcase of what's going on. The Student-Led Symposium is something really dear to my heart. This is led by our student representatives, and it's a space where we really dedicate our time and investment in well-being, in confidence building, in keeping energized and motivated, in thinking about career planning, in thinking about being in control of our lives. And it's a really great space for students to understand that the structural issues they face are in fact structural and not individual. And then the summer school I'm going to talk about on the next slide. The summer school is a jewel in our crown. It's the most intensive period of research training available. It lasts for 3 days face-to-face, although because we were online last year, we moved it over a 5-day programme. So we've taken some learning from that, and we'll explore whether that's going to be useful to use in 2022. We're hoping it's going to be face-to-face. We're hoping it's going to be hosted by Queen Margaret University, which is just outside of Edinburgh. This year we had 29 advanced training workshops. We also had some streams that looked at career planning and well-being. For the first year we had a number of presentations, events that looked at pedagogy and teaching and how to do that well. We had 1,248 spaces available to students, and we had 481 students register. So most of our students did a number of different events within the summer school. And this was a big increase in our usual numbers. It's a 78% increase compared to 2019, which was the last time we did a face-to-face. We've been online now for 2 years, pretty much, 2 summer schools. And what we did very, very carefully over those summer schools is ask our facilitators to give us some legacy materials to help build our online training repository. That's hosted on social, which Ross is talking to you about on other slides. But we're going to try and continue to use summer school and advanced training to increase our resources on social for students. And what we will try and do each year is produce more digital materials, because we know that some students really like the face-to-face and some have really got a lot out of having access to a learning repository they could access whenever they wanted. So we're going to keep that model going, a kind of hybrid model, I suppose, and we'll continue to monitor it and get student feedback and listen to them about the best way of approaching this great event. Now, I have perhaps not so subtly asked for support in collaborating towards our summer school and advanced methods training. Really, any idea you've got at all, please drop me an email, jo.ferrie@glasgow.ac.uk. And contributing to those events is part of the partnership agreement. So if you're a tenured staff, we would expect you to not seek payment for that because we don't have funds to provide it. On the other hand, we also really encourage you to come to us with some prepared materials. So you're not developing a whole training session from scratch if you are willing to contribute to this national training event. But we do have 2 pockets of money. This is a pathway training fund and student-led training fund. So I just want to give you a lowdown of these 2 opportunities. The pathway training fund is for academic colleagues. It runs through our pathways, which some of you will know run as a foundation to our studentship competition. But you don't need to be within a university that hosts the pathway to hold a pathway training fund application event. So for example, if you're at Aberdeen psychology, you can put in through the psychology pathway that would go in through the Economies, Mind and Technologies hub. Brilliant. There's funding available. If it's disciplinary specific, it's up to £2,500, and we would expect this to reach a single pathway. For example, we could look in sociology at the impact of, or what can Marx teach us about a post-COVID world? Building back better. What could that look like? If we include other disciplines, other pathways, you can bid for up to 3,500, and we would expect that kind of event to last a couple of days. And there's full guidance and examples of budgets and everything broken down on the guidance document on the website. What you can't use this money for is to pay yourself if you're a tenured academic at a Scottish university. We're not allowed to spend the money in that way, but we can support early career scholars. So people on fixed term contracts, fractional appointments, we recognise that those guys aren't being paid to deliver into the network, and therefore some of the money could go to them. Again, look at the guidance, because there's an expected rate for early career scholars. You can't just choose it yourself. We've kind of done the homework for you to set up the structure. The next call isn't until next year, April 2022. We're actually going through the applications from this year right now to see who's going to get the funding. But if you have a particularly brilliant idea and you just can't wait, or maybe you're already hosting an event or something and you could really see how a small extension to it could fit in very well here, get in touch with the Hub leads. Their email addresses, contact information is on the website, and they can really help you think about, yeah, this really fits actually within the program. And then they can come to the rest of the directorate team, the professional services team, with a pitch, and we'll see if we can find the resources to support it. Okay, so if you've got that great burning idea, but this is the first you've heard the Pathway Training Fund even exists, don't give up. Come on. And then the Student-Led Training Fund is to directly fund student activity to fill a training gap. It's up to £500 for a one-day event for a single student, and then that goes to £1,000 if we have two students working together on a one-day event. The maximum we can resource is two students working together. If you have a student that has an idea, please work with them a little bit on the budget, because what we want to make sure is that they don't exploit themselves by producing an event that's just too ambitious for the amount of money that's coming to them. We can't shift the budget, so we need them to be realistic about what they can achieve. They'll also get mentoring from us. So if we think that the event is just too ambitious, we'll give them that feedback. If their application isn't quite strong enough this year, we'll offer to meet them. I give them mentoring about how to strengthen the application. If it's a big amount of work they can do, they're advised to apply next year. If it's small, we'll see if we can sneak it back into the competition this year. And all successful students are offered mentoring from me on the pedagogy of training. So I can look at learning materials, we can look at different software, bringing in Padlet, Mentimeter. Would small groups work here, or is that actually the right thing for this training and for this student group? And they're also encouraged to record their achievement in very specific ways. So this is demonstrating leadership. They're contributing to a national training event. That's great on your CV, right? They're actually bidding for, in a competition for ESRC funding. So these are the things where they can really champion their achievements, and we make sure that they know this language, that we're really doing some development work with them in return for this training. They can invite notable speakers, but the same kind of rules apply. If they're tenured at a Scottish university, the funding can't go to the speaker. We're very, very happy with students completely presenting all of the learning materials themselves. We know that they're easily good enough to be working at this level. We have had some sensational training come through this program. We have deadlines. We have two. Pathway Training Fund is one a year, but because students full-time may only be in the system for 3 years, then we make sure that there are multiple chances for them to apply annually. So we've got another deadline coming up, and that will be announced October, November time. So that will happen sometime in December, maybe early January. And then there'll be another next May in 2022. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's all of my training slides. It is. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to engage with this. any ideas at all, any criticisms, any gaps you think are there in the training programme, even if you don't want to then volunteer to close it, I'm really happy to hear about it. So please email us, teams@sgsss.ac.uk, to reach us generally, and me specifically, it's jo.ferrie@glasgow.ac.uk. Thanks very much.